righty. Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to NAYA's Homeownership Fair. My name is Brent Lee. I'm the Critical Home Repair Coordinator for NAYA. And today we'd like to talk to you about the home repairs and some of the things that to look for and some of the things that we want you to be aware of as you start this process. As we go into the slide, next slide is fine, Kevin, thanks. This is in partnership with the Homeowners Fair. And this meets the NAYA's IDA Home Repair Workshop Training Curriculum and Worksheet Assignment. Those of you who are in the IDA Home Repair Program, this workshop will count as you turn in the assignment sheet at the end of the workshop. And then that will go into your folder and the process begins or continues in your program, in your savings program. We'd like to ask you a couple more questions in the next slide that we go to, is that as you assess your situation in your home repairs or what you're thinking about home repairs, it's like, where are you now? Are you renting at this time? Are you dreaming about owning your own home? Are you in the planning stages? Are you transitioning of making those decisions to get to that place of getting ready to buy the home, or are you actually in the home and have been there for years? So those are the different things that we want to kind of look at. What does that look like? Or if you want to share an experience on this, I know you're all muted, that's fine. But some of the things that we want to have, if you have an experience or story, a minute or two about a home repair or some of the things that you're thinking about, maybe some of the fears or questions that you may have about it. What was some of the things that you've learned or are learning in this whole journey, okay? And for those of you who own the home, how long have you owned your home? What was a backstory, possibly a 30-second backstory on how you got into it, how long you've been there, what was the biggest surprise in owning your home, and some of the challenges. And then how many of you have had a home maintenance or schedule plan in place at this time? You can either by show of hands in the chat. Okay. All righty. So what we want to do, we want to jump to the next one. And here we want to go looking into, the other pieces of what you're thinking about, okay? What do you want to do on your repairs? Is it on the inside? Is it on the outside? Are you planning to do it yourself, or having contractors or subcontractors or friends, other options? What's a hybrid for you? You might just have to do sweat equity and YouTube it and learn it that way. So all of those things come into an assessment piece of how you want to progress in this area, okay? It is a big one, and a lot of things to consider, and anything else that you may want to be letting me go through or wanting me to know, just let me know, okay? All right, let's jump into what we want to do first. And for me, it's finding out the last question on the slide before was, do you have a home maintenance piece in schedule or on schedule? Do you have one in place, in process? And this is a great resource, year-round maintenance, that Kevin had found, kind of went through it. There's a link to it on the bottom. Not sure, Kevin, are you able to click on or open this link below? Okay, so I really like this comprehensive sheet. Again, kudos to the city of Phoenix in Arizona. These, as we go through it, can go through the table of contents. We can scroll down, I think, to the next page. And this table of contents, this area this is kind of, for me, the backbone of a homeowner. This will help me put me on schedule. This will help me to keep an eye on or be aware of all the things that are concerning or that are very useful in knowing what to do in taking care of your home. You can see 7 health safety principles. We'll go over that real quick. We'll have a seasonal maintenance checklist. And then I really like the 28 homes maintenance strategies. And you might be going, Brent, 28? I mean, like 28, come on, dude. Well, no, it's really a good systematic, detailed areas to just check and to take a look and see. You don't have to do it all in one day. It's just a matter of an awareness piece, all the small things that we take for granted until something major happens, okay? Can we scroll down a little bit, Kevin, to the seasonal maintenance? Well, let's stop right here, I'm sorry. Let's say, yeah, right here. 7 healthy principles. We want to keep it dry. For these principles come from the HUD department, and they've taken it and incorporated into this presentation. The first thing in the home is keeping it dry. When we go in and do repairs, the main thing is your roof. Because if everything else below is, if your roof is not taken care of, everything else below can be damaged. We have organizations where they won't come in to fix a home unless the roof is taken care of and the roof is in good shape. So really the roof is really your life and breath of your home. Inside the attic, the insulation, if there's proper ventilation, if there's any leaks or moisture places because of holes that you don't know about, or a slow leak around the chimney area, this is very critical. This is what I would tell you would be my #1 goal when I go into a home. We're looking for leaks. We're checking out your gutters. We're looking for trees. Or you have heavy foliage that drops tons of needles every year. Are you in a sunny spot? Do you have a cold spot where you're growing moss on the backside? So these are the areas that are very critical, and you have to take care of this first before you can do with anything below, really. The moisture, all of that mold, those things, at times they're secondary if the roof is the problem of the primary cause for those issues. So that's very important in keeping things dry. Your home cleanliness is a very important. You know where your dust balls are, right? You know what you have to do. It's a constant for you, and what areas that need to be tidied up on, and keeping it clean and functional and healthy inside, because your air quality, everything that has to do with your health, your respiratory, all of those issues, those are very important. Let's drop down to the next one. How's that? And then safety. So fire safety prevention, your carbon monoxide detectors, extinguishers, and where are your flammables, and where are anything that's chemically compound items? Are they poisons, and are they in a safe place, stored securely, especially with children, right? Either in the garage or at a high place if you keep them in the house. The other important piece is ventilation. We're looking at fans, mostly in your bathroom and your kitchen, where you have proper exhaust. Some of the things in conjunction with the home, this is where you have to check your ventilation. And this is a very concerning problem, serious problem, is because sometimes they ventilate right out into your attic. Well, that's not the piece that is important on that. It has to be ventilated up through the roof or through the siding of a house to the outside. So that ventilation is very important to get the proper air quality. And if it is going into the attic, what will happen is all that moisture will stay there. That'll create mold, that'll create mildew, an unhealthy piece. And I got a good friend who's a contractor, a roofing contractor, and that's what happened to a brand new home. They didn't dial it in. And so he looked at it after 17 years and they had to replace the whole roof because the vents were not adequately vented out to the outside, okay? The other part is also for your kitchen. You may have those vents that will circulate right back into your home, and that's fine. Then if that's the setup you have, that's okay. Just make sure that it's clean, that it's wiped down, clean constantly because you don't want any grease or fire, grease to accumulate up there and can cause a fire because of the V8s up there. If you are able to ventilate it outside, that'd be ideal, and get that again function for your the air within your kitchen as well. Okay. Pest, those are constant. Fortunately, in the Northwest, the cold weather keeps out a bunch of them. Other times, no. So looking for safe ways to control that, you may have to call a pest company. You could get those traps for ants, for roaches. Make sure some of them are non-toxic and you can place them, but you can place them in good areas and make sure there's no accessibility via the kids who can get to it. Okay. Also on storing your food, if you got, if it's in the outside, I've seen rodents coming in through the garage to get into the house, to get to the dog food, to get to the rice, to get to the beans, whatever you have on the floor. Those are the things that you need to kind of tidy up, bring everything up above the floor or put them in plastic containers. All right. Let's see, contaminant free. Yeah. Any house that's prior to 1978, you probably would have lead paint. There is a process to inspect for that, also to clean or to cordon off areas. If you are not disturbing the paint, you should be all right. But if you do or in question, you need to get that lead tested, and then the proper test kits, or the painting contractor usually will be the one who can help you handle all of those things as far as with the paint. And also in flooring, double check on the flooring. You have a contractor come in. They should be a lead certified contractor with a license who could do that to address pre-1978 homes. Okay. Let's jump. Oh, also the other piece is radon is free test kits are available, or you can purchase those kits, and I'll cover that in a little bit. But just before I forget, I wanted to make a mental note of that. The other part is keeping it routinely inspection, making your repairs at home, taking care of your minor repairs as soon as they pop up, yard maintenance, and then, those things are all little things you do over a long period of time to keep it clean. If you don't, the neglect will add up, and all of a sudden you got a big major problem. If you don't clean your gutters, say, it's going to overflow, it's going to hit the wood underneath your eaves, that's going to soak with water, then it's going to begin to wood rot up into your eaves, and then possibly mold, and then it just gets bigger. Okay, so be aware of those things. All right, let's jump to the next one. The seasonal maintenance checklist, I'm just going to touch upon real quick. Fall, winter, spring, all of those things are in there. There's the 28 different maintenance areas. You got cleaning solutions. So this handout is a go-to. You can download it. That'd be the greatest thing you can do. I think one of my goals today is try to give you as much resources as possible to you to decipher. And you're already in the information, and with Google, you can find out and do anything you want on your home through that. I'm just touching on things that, at least in my realm, that help me in keeping track is when I go into homes and look what's needed. Okay. All right, let's see what's on the next slide. And we can click on to the next one. We can get out of that, Kev. Go. And we can drop down to is it locked? Cool. Thank you. All right. So this is what we just covered, and this was the green and healthy home elements. The way they put it was in this context, in their paradigm. And then this is the HUD resource link that we had with the 8 or 7 suggestions that we wanted to look through. And then we probably could skip this. Let's go all the way down to slide 15, Kevin, please. It'll be black with side notes. Now let's go down about 6 of these slides. There we go. Okay. So on this link, Kevin, I'm not sure if you're able to click on this link. This side note here is a nonprofit business called Nonprofit Home Inspections. And I just discovered this probably about a month ago. And the thing I like about it here is that it has an area that caters to low income homeowners, and they have home inspection services, and they can help you, and you can see the qualifications that are on it. The average home runs about $500, if you had a larger home, between $500 and $800 for a home inspection. And we might think, well, you know, that's pretty steep, Brent. You know, we're not sure if we can afford it or so forth. But the idea is that for $500, these guys are pretty thorough and get everything done. And they have different types of inspections that they can do. I did call them, I did talk to them. As if you may be on SNAP, food stamps, or any other government assisted programs, that may be eligible for you to qualify to get a home inspection at 50% off. And that's usually for the first one. If you have an additional home, be like 25% off. Kevin, if you could scroll down just a little bit, I want to pull down to the last thing on the bottom. Let's see, or I'm sorry, come back up a little bit. Okay, yes, perfect, right here. So right below the 8, that small diddly saying there, nonprofit home inspections is pleased to offer free home inspection services to nonprofit organizations in our community to serve low-income populations. We frequently partners with them. So what will happen, they can do that, but it's usually like a 50% cost of it, and that's a great deal. Get your home inspected for $280, $350. That's a great deal, and at least you got the report, and you can even work off of that in your home maintenance schedule. Okay. Any questions on that? Leave them in the chat and try to answer them for you as we keep on going. All right. Let's go to the next slides, Kevin. Thank you. Okay, so the next two, there are a couple of just slides of homes and all of the things that happening through it. We want to transition because from your home maintenance piece now, we want to kind of go into a little bit about what if you decide to use a contractor. So if we go down 2 more with the Oregon board. There you go. Nice, thanks. Okay. So if you're deciding to, go with a contractor, this Oregon Contractors Board is a website that you need to be familiarize yourself with if you haven't already, and then go ahead and look at the things that they have here. You can also check, the first link I think is to check a contractor's license number. You pop that in and it'll give you the background of the contractor, the history, how long they were in business, if they had any claims on them. and so forth. So as we qualify contractors to work for us here at NAYA, this is one of my processes where I'll click on that. I'll print all these sheets out. If I do a home repair on the client, I'll print out these sheets and I'll attach it to the file, showing that they have all their certs, they're in good standing, and that we're able to use them. They have their insurance. Any claims are pending or that they're taken care of, I can call them and follow up with them, ask them about it, which I have. And you take everything in context and they tell you the story and it's like, we're good to go with them. So that's a very vital piece. This next link, Kevin, in the middle, if you could click on that, this is one that we want you to look at as you start looking for clients or contractors in doing work for you. And so this will tell you how to find a contractor on that middle link there. And then we'll pop up all of the things that need to be considered as you look for a contractor. Okay. So the contractor, if his license, it's bonded, proof of insurance, all of this has all these information on here when you type up the license. Now, if we scroll down on this page, on this bottom, these are the 4 videos that I will pull from, in essence, to kind of go through on finding a reliable contractor, okay? And if we can click on the first one on pre-qualification, these videos run anywhere between 3 and 5 minutes long, but these are the steps that we want to kind of make you aware of on how the CCB presents contractors and how to look for them and what are some of the things to learn about this process, okay?
Well, so I've been asked to talk about how to select a contractor. In my mind, there's 4 kind of separate phases. You first want to pre-qualify a group of contractors that you just kind of sound out and get comfortable with 3 or 4 of them. Then you want to get bids from those 3 and 4. Then the next process is to analyze the bids, and finally you have to manage the job once you've selected a contractor. So how do you go about pre-qualifying a contractor? Friends and neighbors are absolutely the best source, especially people who have worked with contractors. They're going to have a history with them. They know how they work. They know if they keep the job clean. Ask any friends that are in the industry, even if they're subcontractors. They might very well know good contractors who organize a job well. Angie's List, Craigslist, even Yelp, things like that are useful in that you can probably find out if people are close by. You can read the reviews, but recognize that they may be written by his relatives or one disgruntled guy, and it's not very well vetted, so you just got to take it with a grain of salt. Lumber yards, you can go down and ask who's been a consistent contractor here that pays their bills, that's honest, you never have any problems with. Trade associations, you can call up the Associated Builders and Contractors or the home builders. They're probably not going to identify the best, but they may be able to narrow the list for you. You want to make sure your contractor's licensed. Always check it on the CCB website. It's very easy. If you don't get somebody who's licensed, they probably aren't going to have the insurance that protects you. So that is just a very big situation that you got to make sure that they're licensed. As you talk to them, ask them if they specialize in anything. Are they specialized in kitchen or bathroom remodels? Maybe you're only doing roofing or siding. You want somebody who's specialized in that. They're going to have the tools. They'll rent them to you, very cheaply. You don't want somebody going out and buying scaffolding if they're going to be siding or something like that. Will the contractor use their own employees, or are they going to sub the stuff out? Each has its advantage, but it's helpful to know. Obviously, they have a lot more control over their own employees. How long has the contractor been in business? Absolutely the most important thing is, do you feel comfortable with them? That's the whole process of the pre-qualification. Find 3 or 4 people that you would be willing to let in your house on a day-to-day basis for the next 3 or 4 months as your project gets completed. So that's the pre-qualification.
And why don't we continue, Kevin, please? We'll continue with the video, 2, 3, 4.
When you get those 3 or 4 guys, and I don't think it's really necessary to get more, you want to ask them for a bid proposal. You want to give them time to get that bid together. Most of them will contract their subcontractors and get sub-bids from them, and that's absolutely a benefit to you, so you got to give them time to do that. I mean, they're going to ask an electrician to come out and look in your panel and figure out how many outlets and light fixtures and all that kind of stuff you need. So subcontractors are good. People often ask, how many bids should I get? 2 is too few. If you're going to get 5, 6 or more, that's just too many. It'll turn legitimate contractors off. They know you're just shopping for price. You don't care about the value added that they might contribute to the job. And they can find out if there are 6 or 8 people bidding. You may be specifying Marvin windows, and each one of them has to call the Marvin rep and say, well, have you worked up a price on the Jones house? And he says, oh yeah, you're the 7th guy who's called me. And it's just going to turn the guy off, and he's not going to put a good proposal to you. So my recommendation is to get 3 or 4. 4, because one guy may have, something might come up and he may drop out. You want at least 3 bids. You can't just accept the low bid, because a lot of these guys will just give you a number and not really work on it. You want a guy who's going to work on it, get sub bids, and have a good idea of what has to happen to finish your job. So let's cut to the point where you've got 3 bids from contractors you could all live with, that you could live with and you feel comfortable with. It's very important to analyze those bids carefully. Hopefully you'll get some kind of breakdown from the contractor, but often you won't. You'll just get a number. I mean, they've worked on this, they feel that information is proprietary. But what you should do is verify their assumptions and the presumptions that they expect when they start the job. This is things like, do you think you're going to start in the summer? What are you going to do with the plants that are along the side of the house? You know, one contractor might just plan on taking them out with a backhoe. Another contractor might heel them in on another portion of your property. I mean, these are all things that you want to know. So you'll find out that kind of information when you get your bids, and just make sure that any question, or it appears that one guy has a little bit more work than somebody else, you want to ask them, well, what are you going to do with the plants? What are you going to do with my old windows? Are you going to just throw them away, or are the blinds going to be able to be reused in my new situation? I mean, these are all things to ask. And then ask that same question to everybody and make sure that you're comfortable with the answers, and you that's how you evaluate these things. The other very important thing is to figure out what allowances are included in each bid. An allowance is a dollar item, a dollar amount that's put in a bid when the contractor doesn't have enough information to get a sub bid. So he may have an allowance for tile, or for flooring, or for plumbing fixtures or light fixtures. You want to make sure that each bid has the same allowances. And it doesn't matter terribly much exactly what the amount is, but they have to be the same. That way, when you add everything up, everybody's figuring the same thing. Another key thing about allowances, some contractors may be able to get a sub-bid on a particular item. Let's say it's irrigation repair. You're putting in an addition to your house and the irrigation is going to be torn up. If one contractor goes and talks to a landscaper and includes $1,350 to repair the irrigation, that's much more valuable to you than a $1,350 allowance, because we know we can get it done for $1,350. We don't know, the guy who just throws it in as an allowance doesn't know what he's going to get it for. So if it comes in at $1,500, well, you're going to pay another $150. So bid numbers are preferable to allowances.
Okay, folks, so we're halfway through. It'll be another probably 6 minutes, but just kind of want to come through these other two, and then we'll have questions. If you want to type in your questions,
now we've gotten to the point
we'll be able to answer them.
Analyze our contracts, our bid proposals, and we've selected somebody. The next thing you want to do is negotiate a contract. The more detail that you can put in the contract. Urge you, if at all possible, to get all your drawings done, all your appliances selected, your paint colors, everything that you possibly can specify, get it in the original bid package. It's just like buying a car. It's very inexpensive in the beginning to get air conditioning in your car, and it's very expensive to put it in later. It's just, you won't regret it. Hopefully you get a list of the subcontractors that your contractor is going to use, and you want to verify that they're all licensed with the CCB. You want to specify a timeline, a start date and a finish date. You want the total price, and hopefully you would be able to arrive at some kind of payment schedule. In commercial construction, this is very typical, and not so much in residential. They're usually going to want a deposit to get going. One thing you really don't want to do is overpay your contractor. And with a deposit, of course, you're paying for work that hasn't even started yet. But you want to keep it reasonable. You want to know how changes are going to be dealt with in the contract. Ideally, they all want to be in writing. They all want to be priced out by the contractor before you agree to do them. You want to know what his labor rates are going to be in case you do have to do some time and material stuff, how his overhead and profit is calculated on changes. All this kind of stuff prevents misunderstanding and hard feelings later on. Of course, you want to sign all this stuff. You also, because the contractor is an expert in this arena, you want him to get the building permits. It may be tempting for you to do them, but he is much more conversant with the building department and able to expedite things in that arena. So at this point, we're through step 3. We've negotiated a contract, and we're working with our contractor on the job. So how do you manage the job? As I've said, hopefully you've negotiated some kind of payment schedule so that you pay him his deposit up front. Let's say it's a $50,000 job. He may ask for $15,000. Ideally, you would want to say, well, when you get the foundation in, I'll give you another $5,000. When the building's up and framed, roof on, dried in, you'll get another $10,000. By all means, keep it reasonable. You don't want to be 3/4 through the job and have paid him 95% of his fee. He doesn't have any incentive to finish. And you know, if he's not reputable, he can walk away and still come out ahead. So you don't want that to happen. Make sure you communicate daily with your contractor. It's not unreasonable for you to ask him to at least phone you every day. You want to talk about things you don't understand. You notice the kitchen closet is much smaller than you thought it was going to be. I mean, as soon as you realize something like that, talk about it. It's a lot easier to change early on than later. Keep good records. Pay by check. I'd suggest keeping a phone log. Not elaborate, but things that are important, especially time commitments that he might make to you. If he says the sheetrocker is going to be there Thursday, well, write that down. You know, if he isn't there Thursday, you can look back and say, well, hey, you told me on, Tuesday a week ago that he was going to be here today. Where is he? I mean, is it because you aren't ready, or he isn't ready, or? As far as payment goes, you need to verify that the contractor is paying his subcontractors. And it's not unreasonable to call that subcontractor. If Ajax Electric is on your job, you've given your contractor $30,000, it's roughed in, call up Ajax Electric and say, hey, have you received payment on my job? And they should be very forthright and say yes or no. And if you get answers like no very often, ask your contractor, I paid you, how come you're not paying your subs? Very important. Tie performance to payment. This is all in the aspect of not paying ahead. Pay for work that's already completed as much as you can. Contractors should be willing to tell you where they're buying their materials. If they're getting their lumber from Par or Milwaukee Lumber, you should call up Par in Milwaukee and say, hey, are you paying? Or for at least the stuff on my job. And they keep very accurate records. They know exactly where every stick goes and whose house it's at, and enable them to file liens. And you don't want liens. You can pay your contractor, and if he doesn't pay Par Lumber, Par Lumber can file a lien on your house, and you have to pay Par Lumber. So you can pay twice. That's why it's important to call. Ideally, you want to have a little bit of money left to make sure the job gets finished 100%. It's inspected by the city if you have a permit, and 99% of jobs are going to have permits. Very, very few jobs don't require a building permit. But you want to make sure the building department is signed off on the job and everything is done, and it's done to your satisfaction. It's clean. Items that are hanging fire, maybe a light fixture's busted and needs to be replaced, ask him when that's coming before you finally give him his final payment. And ideally, you wouldn't pay him until it was done.
Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate that. And then we can jump to the next slide. Questions as you guys come up. We got about 10 minutes left. I just kind of wanted to go through that. So you're aware of the CCB website. What are those things that you need to check out if you're going to work with a contractor? And then these are just the big cardinal no-nos, right? Avoid the mistakes. Not checking for a contractor's license. There's no written contract. You just kind of go with what they say. You're not getting more than one bid, or just getting the low bid. That's not a very good process right there. And then not checking references, not doing homework. I have a number of real life experiences in working with homeowners here in East Portland. One of the customers got ripped off one time for 11 grand for paying the contractor up front, And then another time for 13 grand for doing the kitchen. One was for the bathroom, one was for the kitchen. And so when we found this client, it was half done. You know, floors are out, walls are off, insulation showing. And the sad thing that they've been living like that for about 10 years, more than 10 years. So this is real stuff that I know I see. And it is very imperative that you do your due diligence, take your time. If you're rushing into the project and making it work just before summer, July 4th, and it's going to cause you to make mistakes, I kind of would throttle it back. All these projects are very deliberate. They're very well thought out. It's a process. And so take your time and make sure when you jump in, because it's a lot of money that's involved in doing repairs, right? We can't afford $10, let alone 100, and not even get an estimate on a couple thousand or more. Yeah, just be cautious of that. The next 4 slides are kind of just a review of what the videos were. And Kevin can just flip through these, you know, ask your friends, neighbors, go online again, the CCB sites, find out if the contractors you want, a general or specialty contractors, like they specialize in electrician or plumbing, how long they've been in business, when was the last time they, you know, have they ever gone bankrupt in their business before? Those are all legit questions. Okay. Next slide would be what was covered in the video: bid proposal, estimates, 2 to 4 bids. Pick out 1 or 2. It's kind of like dating, tell you the truth. I mean, you got to figure out if you really like them. I think the first video when he said, hey, the bottom line is that you're going to have probably 1 to 4 people working in your house every day for 2 weeks or more, right? Up to a month, month and a half, 2 months. Are you comfortable with them? Okay, so that's very important on that. And then verify your details on number 4, analyze the bids, verify your details, take your time through this. If you don't understand it, hey, this process right here could take another 2 weeks, if not 3, just to kind of figure it out. Okay. Next slide. When you finally get them back to the table, hey, we're interested in going with you. Let's talk about this, and then get it in writing. Usually the estimate is already thorough. You can add right in and ask them to add these adjustments in it and give you a final estimate or bid proposal where you can sign off on. So this is kind of where you dicker, you kind of get clarity. Again, this process is another week, 2 weeks, kind of figuring it out. Hey, can we really run with it all the time? You know, is it going to fit into our time? All of those things. So that's kind of what we want to look at. And then the last slide, please. When you pay, don't overpay. If you have to, keep the increments small at the beginning, making sure the work is done. I know for us, as you know, because we're an organization, but if I have to, I'll put 50% down, and then I won't give them final until they're done, completely done. If I was a homeowner, I'd probably do something similar. I'd probably do 25, 25, maybe a 25, maybe just a 10, and then I'll save a 40 to 60 or 40 to 50 on the final, because you don't want them running away. If they're happy with, you know, 10 grand, and going to see you, hello, you're not coming back. They got the 10 grand. They're happy with that, and it's going to cost just going through the whole headache of going through the small claims court. They might not even pay. One key thing for the CCB, they can advocate for you if you're using a contractor up to a year of when you, I think, put them on 30-day notice. So in essence, say we're working with a contractor, all of a sudden he's not doing anything today. April 23rd, he stopped. We haven't seen him for a month. We file a complaint, and we have a 1-year window. If I wait after that, the last time I saw him, so next year, let's go August, it's probably too late because my 1-year expiration date, and I would have no recourse other than a small claims court. Okay, so just a note on that. That wasn't mentioned. And then the last page, this is kind of what I do on my end. Critical home repair. I serve the East Portland area. I serve anywhere from the river all the way down to Foster, east of 205. Kevin, if you can go to the last slide. East of 205 and all the way down to about Foster. East of 205 all the way to about 181st, okay, around Centennial area. This is senior citizens, low income, if they own their own home, or if they are disabled. We do the critical home repair, weatherization as it needs fit. We try to partner with our agencies because all of us in this type of work, sometimes our finances, we're not able to get all the repairs done. We can only pick out certain ones, and that's why it's critical home repair. Something critical would be like your carpet is showing and the transition to bare floor can cause you to trip. That's critical for us. Putting a strip in and making that safe is critical for seniors, right? If you want your cabinets painted or changed or the handles swapped out, we don't do those. They do a function of fire, safety, and health. All right. Hey, thank you for your time. If we have time for questions, we can open it up a little bit. I think we got a couple minutes. But I hope that was profitable for you and giving you some resources just to kind of chew on and use in order to move forward in your repairs on your home. Any questions?
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Brent. Really appreciate it. Let's go ahead and see if there's any questions in the box. So give me just a few moments. I'm on a laptop, so I have to jump around a lot.
Yeah, thank you, Jess and Kevin, for helping with this presentation. I know we're winging it and appreciate all your hard work. Thank you.